oh, as long as it's in scripture, it says that the animals are, etc. You think there's no harm in that process?
The issue here...
You grow the animal,
look,
kill it, and then eat it. There's no harm in that?
So, for example, when you slaughter an animal, it should not see the knife. Other animals should not see that animal being slaughtered. There are many things that are discussed.
You can kill a human, no pain. Is that humane?
So you think a human and a sheep are the same?
I'm saying I eat meat.
You eat meat?
I'm just playing devil's advocate. My whole point is that when I see people trying to justify what they might know is an immoral action, I justify because I say, oh, I'm lazy, I like meat. But I know that it's wrong. I know that it don't matter how much I pay for a good standard of meat, I still know it's wrong. You're killing something that come out of a womb of a mother. I think that's up. Bro, come on, man. I think this is what
Darren, he's a doctor.
Of course not.
Darren, he's a medical doctor.
It doesn't mean. Look, let me. Look.
So if you want to ask him
don't try silence me with his credentials.
No.
Let me explain. Yeah,
but why don't you ask him what he means by that? What is the scientific basis of him arguing what he's arguing?
I wasn't born yesterday.
Damaging to the animal and keeps the animal healthy for human consumption, then the scholars would say adopt that way.
Can I ask you a
but you don't have that, do you?
Is it alright if I quickly ask a question? If animal welfare is the real issue, then I mean the slaughter isn't the only part. Even in halal farms, I mean they still are kept in terrible conditions. Animals are still artificially inseminated to give birth and stuff like that. Who cares if the slaughter is bad?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
Islam clearly doesn't have animal welfare in mind if you eat the animals.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's 2 points there. Number one, there is a presumption that if that is happening, that somehow Islam condones it or accepts it or doesn't challenge it.
Sure.
That you're wrong on that point.
Sorry, you have to specify that. I don't know what you mean.
Well, you're saying that there's bad welfare in some Muslim abattoirs of animals.
Oh, the Hanover.
Okay.
Right. My point to you is, there are 2 points here.
There's nothing that goes against artificial insemination of animals, is there?
No.
It will specify the way you slaughter the animal, but nevertheless, all the other bad practices still happen.
Are you sure of that?
Of course, it happens in every farm, whether halal.
No. Are you sure that Islam does not condemn the bad treatment of animals?
Someone said something.
Tell me how it does.
It does, because in Islam we have many principles of animal welfare.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yes. So even, for example, we're told that if you are abusive to an animal, it's a sin in Islam. If you cause harm to an animal, it's a sin in Islam.
Eating an animal is
No. Now you're talking about eating an animal.
You have to kill it to eat it.
Yes, of course you have to kill it and eat it, right?
You have to make sure it's grown
Yes.
in a farm, which requires artificial insemination of another animal. Grow it up, feed it often bad quality food.
But let me deal with that. Let me deal with that point.
You're telling me, hold on.
Yes.
You're telling me that whole process that you and many other Muslims who eat meat
Yes.
go through,
Yes.
that there's no harm or nothing.
I didn't say that, and you're putting words in my mouth.
Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
You've made a point there. Let me deal with it. Firstly, animal welfare is something that is very prominent within Islam. Cruelty to animals, for example, there was a time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we're told, and there was a man who was being very cruel to his camel. Very cruel to his camel. This is a story of hadith. A camel, right? Very cruel.
1400 years ago.
And the Sorry?
Go on, continue. It doesn't really relate to these modern farming standards.
You're not letting me answer. You're not letting me answer the question. My issue here with that is this: that animal welfare, the bad treatment of animals, is something that is indeed covered within Islam.
And today?
No. When something is covered within Islam, it means that it's relevant for us today as it was relevant 14 centuries ago, because that's how our religion works.
Artificial insemination.
So, for example, anything that would be deemed cruel to an animal. So, like you said, first of all, commercial raising of animals in itself on a mass scale is cruel, but it's not just cruel in a Muslim abattoir. That's the first thing. All of the abattoirs.
I said that.
Of course. No, you said it. You said I'm a Muslim abattoir.
No, I said halal or non-halal. Everyone heard me.
Right. So that's the first point. That's the first.
They might
no,
animals differently, but everything else.
But you're making a presumption there, an assumption. You are wrong. You are wrong. Because in Islam we're encouraged that you have to eat halal. Halal means that which is lawful. But we actually are told that it is better for you to eat that which is tayyib. Tayyib means that the animal has been well looked after, there is no cruelty involved, he's had a good life, a good feed, and then the animal becomes tayyib for you. I just wanted to say a big thank you, jazakallah khair, to all of our supporters on Patreon, and also all of you who have subscribed to the channel and are making comments and likes. All of this helps to support the dawah, and mashallah, the money generally goes towards transcripts, translations, and also the shorts that we're doing regularly, alhamdulillah. And all of that is having an impact on spreading the dawah. So jazakallah khair, inshallah, keep your donations coming and help the dawah to grow. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And in fact, when we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he would go without meat sometimes for months. They lived a predominantly vegetarian diet.
And now?
And in fact, well,
you said there's no commercial farming back then.
My point, look, your point was Islam and how it protects the rights of animals.
Yes.
If you show me bad examples of Muslim abattoirs, that is not Islam and what Islam says about animals. That's what some Muslim abattoirs might be doing to those animals. Now, just as you would condemn that,
sure,
I have to condemn that as well as a Muslim. Of course. Any cruelty, I would have to condemn it as a Muslim because my religion condemns it.
Sure, but my whole argument doesn't rely on just the bad abattoirs. My point is that growing, raising, and eating meat has to be considered harmful by you. If you really believe that the whole process, whether it's slaughtered correctly or not, isn't cruel, then aren't you sort of bending the rules towards you? Oh, as long as it's inscription, it says that the animal's ours, etc. You think there's no harm in that process?
The issue here,
you grow the animal,
look,
kill it, and then eat it. There's no harm in that.
In a life that the life that we lead, there is harm intrinsically in everything. Hold on a second. Well, well, the fact is that you don't have to eat meat, but there are some people who go to the doctor, for example, where the doctor might say, you know what, you have to eat a little bit of meat now and again, right? But that's not the point. The point here is Allah has not made it forbidden, because Allah says that there are certain animals that we have created for you for food. There are certain animals that have been created for you to ride, like the horse or the camel or whatever, and certain animals that have been created just for beauty, right? So Allah has created different things for Muslims, for non-Muslims, for humanity, for different reasons. But we are told, and it's intrinsic within our faith, that you have to be humane to the way that the animals are kept, to the way that the animals are eaten. Now, you may be right that much of the animals that are consumed today are actually not kept in good conditions, or the eggs that we eat, many of the eggs that we buy may not be, it might not be a humane practice the way that those chickens are kept, for example. As a Muslim, we are supposed to be conscious about those things, and if we actively eat animals that we know are being dealt with cruelly, it's not a good thing in Islam. It would be a sin. So those aspects have been covered. But what you're saying to me is that there are some abattoirs, there are some.
I didn't.
Sorry?
I didn't, because I have to keep saying my argument doesn't depend on the couple of bad abattoirs that you keep saying. It happens everywhere. All farms artificially inseminate their animals. All farms kill the animal.
Well, I'm
asking you, can't you conceive that there is harm in that? And even if the best halal abattoir that followed everything that's stated correctly would still do those things. It still has to be considered as harmful, whether or not your Quran.
I don't know whether these animals are artificially inseminated or not, but do you think that's intrinsically harmful to the animal by doing that? Do you know what the harms are?
Grow the animal, kill it, and then eat eat it. You're saying there's no harm in that process.
Can you tell me what the harms are of artificial insemination?
I'm giving you the whole process.
No, you've mentioned that 3 times.
Well, look, because we can debate whether or not that's harmful. We're not going to get anywhere with that. But take that as part of the huger process. You have to place harm in that.
No, but you've mentioned something 3 or 4 times.
Sure.
So presumably in your mind, you must know what is harmful about that to the animal.
But I just told you, we can debate about whether it's harmful. We won't get to it.
Let's not debate, just answer the question.
I think it is.
On what basis? I'm asking you on...
Because it comes
Well, of course it matters.
Look, you're trying to
No.
narrow down on the point.
No, because what I believe is that... No. Because I believe if we're going to have a discussion and you raise a point and you emphasize harm on something, then you should at least in your mind know what that harm is.
Really? But I'm saying that as part of the whole process.
But we can discuss the whole process, but let's discuss that point that you keep raising again and again.
I think it is. I think if you...
I'm asking you why.
Imagine you went to a woman against her will, impregnating her. Do you not think that's the same as what they're doing to animals? Do you think that's an extreme example? Exactly.
Yeah.
You asked for it, I gave it.
Okay.
But I'm saying about the whole process.
Okay, so in your mind, you think it's the same as grabbing a woman and forcefully inseminating her in relation to doing it to a sheep? Is that what you... I mean...
I'm not saying it's the same, though.
So why are you raising that point then?
I'm saying that you can easily look at an animal being artificially inseminated in the same way as many hardcore vegans do.
Right.
Are you saying they're completely wrong? They have no basis?
Well, I'm saying...
entitled to your opinion.
Well, I'm just saying that you...
whether you find that harmful.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that you can't compare that to a woman being forcibly inseminated.
You begged it, man. You begged for that example. I'm trying to make you not focus on the specific, but the whole process of growing, killing, and then eating the animal. So you have to admit there's harm in that process.
So I've dealt with that because I've said to you that in Islam...
You don't think there is?
No. But listen. No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that we have to minimize as much as we can in a humane way, and we're told in Islam, for example, the Prophet,
can you kill an animal humanely? Is that what you're trying to say? You can grow, kill, and eat an animal humanely. You're saying that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that what happens 0.1 times out of 10 when people eat meat?
So now you're saying...
Is it?
No, hold on a second.
You're telling me what it could be perfect. I'm telling you how it is now.
Can I answer the question?
Halal KFC.
Can I answer that?
Do that?
Can I answer that?
You see?
You said, is it possible to do something? And I said yes. Now you're saying, but most people don't do it.
Yeah,
that's a separate argument, though, isn't it?
It had to lead to that.
So I can only talk about Islam, what Islam tells me to do, which is that as a Muslim, as a believer, you have to make sure that the animal has been kept humanely and that you kill it humanely. So, for example, when you slaughter an animal, it should not see the knife. Other animals should not see that animal being slaughtered. There are many things that are discussed.
You can kill a human, no pain. Is that humane?
So you think a human and a sheep are the same?
I'm saying if it's about pain.
No, but when you make these, make these arguments,
you're saying
you do your great. Listen.
If I slaughter an animal and there's no pain, then it's humane. That's your whole argument. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't see how that's.
Why was the animal bred and kept in the first place?
That's my point. You think it's not a harmful thing.
Yes.
I think it is.
Okay.
You breed it.
Yes.
And then grow it.
Yes.
And then kill it.
Yes.
And then eat it.
But that was not.
I think most normal people can see that there's at least a fraction of harm in that whole process. But you don't. You're saying if done perfectly according to the Quran, there's no harm.
If it's done perfectly according to the Quran, tell me what the harm is.
Oh man, come on. Do I have to repeat myself?
Yes. If it's done humanely according to Islam, can you explain what the harm is?
That's just a difference of opinion. Then.
Okay, so then
you grow the animal.
So then why are we
artificially inseminate an animal, grow it, and then slaughter it according to the best humane standards?
Yes.
I still see that as harming an animal.
Okay, and I'm asking.
That's just a difference of opinion.
And so you're saying that that's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then so we can have a difference of opinion.
There you go.
But you see, the point here is.
I just think it's illogical to not see it as harmful.
But you see, now you're attributing logic.
No, but I'm allowed to say
No.
that. I'm allowed
But
to
now
say
you're attributing logic to something that you yourself are saying is subjective.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah. So it's logical to you on your subjective understanding of the situation.
Sure.
So you should allow. So you should allow freedom to somebody else who applies his sense of logic. I have justified it.
Seems more illogical.
Well,
you know, if you think killing an animal 1 millimeter to the right is harmful, but 1 millimeter to the left is not harmful, come on, man.
Well, who's talking about millimeters?
Killing an animal.
Who's talking about millimeters, though?
Your whole point was the precision with which you kill the animal is what makes it more humane, because there's no pain.
Yes.
If you were to go towards the back, there would be pain. Who cares? You're killing the animal. That's my point. You're trying to.
You're entitled to that.
Moral stance on how you kill it. I don't give a fuck. You're killing it.
No.
So
you missed the discussion. You're making a new discussion now. That wasn't the discussion.
So I'm making a human analogy.
No,
if you were going to
that wasn't the discussion, though. That wasn't the discussion. You're making a new discussion.
All right, chill, man. That's how it is sometimes.
No, you're making a new discussion here.
If they're going to kill someone legally, they have to do it on what they perceive as the most humane way, lethal injection. Now, do you really think there's a huge difference between lethal injection, electric chair, etc., or shooting someone in the head? Many people don't agree with the death sentence.
I don't know, but that's not our discussion.
It's always inhumane.
That's not our discussion.
But I just believe that it's quite analogous to animals as well. Just because you cut them a little bit here, or I shoot them with a stun gun, they are dying for your stomach.
What do you think we should do with what do you think we should do with all the cattle, the lambs, the sheep, the goats, the chickens, if they were allowed to roam freely and just breed and multiply?
Like many other animals.
Yeah, what should we do? Just leave them to it?
Ain't none of my business. Yeah.
Just leave them to it.
We should. Oh, what should we do?
I'm asking you a question.
What should we do? Get involved?
No, I'm asking you a question. Because within Islam,
I'm playing devil's
because within Islam, we believe that Allah has created different things for different reasons and different purposes.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, you don't believe that.
You have to understand my perspective as
I understand. You don't believe that. You don't accept that.
Yeah.
But for us as a principle, we believe that God has created different things for different reasons. And cattle, cows produce milk. They produce meat. You have chickens that produce eggs, that produce meat as well, right? Fish in the oceans. So are you yourself a vegetarian?
Yeah, you didn't hear me because you was talking. I eat meat.
You eat meat?
I'm just playing devil's advocate. My whole point is that when I see people trying to justify what they might know is an immoral action, I justify because I say, I'm lazy, I like meat. But I know that it's wrong. I know that it don't matter how much I pay for a good standard of meat, I still know it's wrong. You're killing something that come out of a womb of a mother. I think that's fucked up. So when people come with their little very special ways of trying to negate the real responsibility that comes with eating meat, because that animal was killed in just for your stomach, you need to be aware of that, man. But I think when people's guilt leads them to an avenue of, no, we do it fine. The food I eat is
so you think it's inherently immoral to eat meat?
Yeah.
You think it's immoral? But you know what? That's your choice.
Damn right.
And you're entitled to that choice. But you see, I as a Muslim, don't tell vegans or vegetarians that you're wrong for being a vegan or vegetarian. You understand my point? Because that's their right. They can believe what they like and do what they want.
Sure.
What I do find a little bit disheartening, really, sometimes, is that on the flip side, sometimes they feel that they have the high moral ground and the high ethics, telling people that what they're doing actually is immoral, inherently immoral. You understand my point?
Everyone does that.
Well, no, but my point to you is...
If you believe you're doing the right thing in life, naturally, you're going to see people who don't do the right thing in life as maybe not meeting your standards. So, come on, everyone does this.
No. But my point to you is that often people of religion, generally we're the ones who don't go around telling atheists or agnostics or anybody else, you're wrong and you're like this and you're like that. But you might, listen to me, you may get a handful here and there, but I'm talking about generally speaking.
Of course.
But it's the person who follows religion is the one who's always got the fingers pointed. Your method of eating meat is cruel, it's bad. When I raise the scientific data, they don't want to hear it.
No, I didn't.
They don't want to hear it.
Hold on, my whole argument
they don't want to
was based
analyse
on
it.
what he said, though.
That's what I'm trying to say to you. It's very disingenuous.
According to you, that the halal method of slaughtering doesn't cause pain. And my point is, I don't care how different you slaughter it, or if it doesn't feel pain, it's still inhumane.
No, my argument was that it causes the least amount of pain, and especially hold on a second. Can I finish? And my argument was that the contention that he was making is that the veterinarian society, you know, and everybody else have somehow got together, and they are saying that inherently the Islamic method and the Jewish method is harmful and damaging and more painful to the animal. And on that point, he was talking about science.
I don't agree with
When I brought the science into it, he didn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to know.
Yeah, he left.
Exactly. And that's the problem that we find today. People, what I believe, look, brother, what I believe, what's your name, sorry?
Darren.
Darren Abbas, yeah? Nice to meet you. You see, Darren, what I believe is that we can have different views, right? We can be inherently opposite in our views. But we should at least allow each other to present our evidence and then base our opinions upon wherever the evidence takes us. So if I'm wrong and you say, Abbas, you know what, you're wrong on this point, and this is the data, categoric evidence that you are wrong, I have to at least, as a honest person, have to take a step back and say, you know what?
I agree.
What he said was actually quite profound, right?
I agree.
I should at least investigate his claim and ascertain whether there's any merit in what he said, right? Similarly, what I'm saying to you is that, you know, you made some points about Islam doesn't really talk about or care about so much about the animals' rights. And we have, for example, we have one story of a woman who was a prostitute. A prostitute. Had sinned all her life. What was the thing that gave her paradise?
Animal.
She saw a dog that was thirsty. So out of her humility, her humanity, she took off her shoe or slipper or whatever, and she filled up the water in her shoe and she gave it to the dog. That act of kindness Allah liked so much that He forgave all her sins and she got paradise.
Wow.
So animals, the caring of animals, look, I accept what you say. That do we see that in society today? Are people really like that? And I would accept, I have to be honest, that yes, there is a lot of cruelty to animals. There is. You know, locking them in the flats all day long, the dog's barking, he's tearing up the flat because he's going through psychological problems because dogs are not supposed to be kept in certain breeds. They don't fare well if you do that, right? All of these things are very cruel, and I accept that. But what I'm trying to say to you is that, Darren, in Islam, many of these things are discussed in much detail. Overburdening of animals is a sin. Making them work too much, where they work to exhaustion, is a sin. Not feeding them properly and giving them enough water is a sin. All of these things are regarded as sinful in Islam. But do some Muslims behave badly? Are there examples of some Muslim abattoirs that behave very badly? Most definitely there are.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I agree with everything you just
what
said.
we should do, Darren, is what we should do is we should look at if you're judging Islam. No, I'm just saying, because you said in Islam you don't have this, right? So what I'm saying, if we're going to judge Islam, then we should judge Islam for what Islam actually says. Not the behavior of what some Muslims profess that they're Muslims and they're doing. Do you understand my point?
Yeah, I did do.
What do you believe? Are you religious yourself at all?
religious.
Do you believe in God or?
But you see, first of all, I can't prove anything with data because I'm making a moral argument.
Sure.
Yeah, and your whole point is, if you don't cause it harm, then it's humane, and we're backed up by our religion that really tries hard to maintain good standards for animals. My whole point is a moral one. If you kill it, it's not cool, bro. Like,
you see, brother.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Now, would you eat a dog?
No.
See, this is my whole point.
No, but you know why? But ask me why I wouldn't do that.
Hold on.
No, but you have to ask me why. No, but brother.
Beef, cows.
No, but what would you eat other than that?
No,
I eat meat.
No, but brother.
You got the wrong
brother.
idea.
Ask me why is it I wouldn't eat a dog?
I will, but hold on.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter what animal I give you. The truth is, most people are confined to white meat and red meat.
Yes.
Or fish, if you consider fish meat. Yes. Now, why is that, man?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Come on. Now,
because in
a lot
Islam,
of Muslims would probably not eat a dog because maybe they feel that it goes against their religion. Like, you can't eat horse, or is that Jew?
it's preferable not to, but you can eat it. I do eat shrimp, yes. Because because there's a difference of opinion about shellfish
Yeah,
in
that is
Islam.
interesting.
Yeah.
So some wouldn't, some wouldn't.
For example, we have one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and may people correct me if I'm wrong, but there were some Sahaba companions who were camped near a beached whale, and they camped there for certain weeks to consume the meat of this whale. Some of the companions didn't eat it. Some of them did. So when they went and saw the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they said to him that we had this carcass, or this whale, or this meat, and we ate from it. And he said, is there any left? And they said, yes, there is. And then he ate from it as well. Now, there are certain rulings and opinions that all seafood is halal. But you're right, there are certain rulings, because in Judaism, for example, they don't consume shellfish and shrimps. And pork, of course, but I'm talking about seafood here.
Sure.
There are the Hanafi madhab. Out of that, there are certain opinions that come out where they also don't eat shellfish. But what I'm trying to say to you is that there's a difference of opinion about that. But can I just go back to one point?
I didn't finish my point, to be completely
Sorry,
fair.
okay, go ahead, sorry.
Well, the reason I ask you about dog or anything,
yeah.
it doesn't really matter what the specific animal is. It's that when people make their conclusions from what they eat, because I'd eat chicken because I feel that it's right, but I wouldn't eat dog because I think it's cruel.
Yes.
It's trying to feel...
No, it's not about being cruel, no.
Okay, so it's
because
about the specific type
because
of
in
animal.
Islam we're not allowed to eat certain animals.
But you're allowed to eat dog, it doesn't say anything about dog.
No, I don't think we can eat a dog.
But does it say, or is that just like sort of common practice? I mean,
Imran, am I right? I know we can't eat donkey.
To eat dog.
We can't eat donkey. We can't eat birds of prey. We can't eat. About brothers asking about dogs. We're not allowed to eat dogs.
So I'm not an expert, by all means. Anyway.
Hoofed animals, right?
I don't want to know about practice, I want to know if it says it though. Because it specifically says not to eat pork and stuff like that.
For example, generally speaking,
Imran, come forward.
anything that eats anything else, you wouldn't eat it.
A carnivore.
But carnivorous animals you wouldn't eat. So pigs, for example, I was talking to somebody else about reasons why. The ultimate reason is because God told us not to. That's the ultimate reason.
Sure. But dogs don't always eat other meat. Or dogs might.
Dogs are carnivorous.
No, but dogs may not always eat meat. Like a lot of people raise their dogs vegetarian, for example.
Which is unnatural.
To their nature.
Dogs are by
Well,
nature
come on, man. What's the nature of cows and chickens and everything else that gets farmed?
Well, it's vegetarian, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're vegetarian, aren't they?
Okay, you mean against their nature?
So an animal that... So for example, there's certain... yeah, please do.
Sure.
Human beings, we have canines, we have incisors. The only job of these teeth are
Sure,
to
I get where you're going with this. So you're saying if there's a vegetarian dog,
Let him finish the point.
No, hold on. No, because this is just going into man territory. So you're saying you wouldn't eat a dog because you don't eat animals which eat other animals. Generally speaking, sure, I'm not going to say it's always the case. But if I did have a dog, for example, who was very healthy, never ate meat in his life, would you eat it? Would you be open to it?
No, you missed the point.
So where's the point?
No, you missed the point, brother.
Because what you're doing is if you're doing something unnatural, see what you're doing is you're taking like an exception and you're making it the rule.
But a lot of people might do that. It's not.
I don't know any Muslims who eat dogs.
Okay, sure, but I don't care. I'm asking you if you would, and the reasons why you wouldn't.
Because what we don't do is it's just like playing games with the word of God and what God has asked us to do. We don't play these games.
Sure, but I'm sure that in the Quran it doesn't list every single animal on earth and say you can't eat this.
Of course not.
Okay, exactly. So you are still making general rules, and I'm trying to give you cases which wouldn't fit those rules. Yet you still wouldn't.
No. But you're missing the point that Imran's made, though. You're missing the point. Come forward, Imran.
No, that's fine. I think what you're doing is when you make a rule, you don't use an exception to make that rule. You make the rule, and then there are exceptions to the rule. The exceptions.
Sure.
So, for example, all men are XY chromosomes. That's the rule. There are exceptions to that rule, but you don't take the exception and say all men are XO or YO. You don't say that.
Yeah, I'm kind of not doing that.
Which is what you're doing.
not doing
If you
that.
get a dog which is a carnivorous animal that eats meat, and I raise it as a vegetarian, which is not natural, harmful to the animal, that's harmful to the animal.
Possibly.
Absolutely harmful. No veterinarian is going to
Possibly,
advise you
yes.
to feed your carnivorous dogs only vegetables.
Sure.
They wouldn't advise that.
Okay, we're getting off the topic. I don't care about the cruelty part.
I'm trying to show you how extreme the example that you're providing is.
Sure. But why? Surely it's still an example which you can answer on. Why? But why?
I'll tell you why, because you're right, the Quran may not contain these statements, but we have statements from the Prophet, peace be upon him, which do clarify these things. So we do have a list that has been compiled, by scholars, by people of knowledge that we can refer to. And exceptions are discussed, so you can read all of this extensively.
Sure.
But what you're asking for is a general rule, and then
I'm not. I'm testing the general rule.
But you can't test it with exceptions.
So for example, let me give you an example.
No, I mean that's your fucking.
Animals have souls.
That's your. This guy came back with the real shit. Do animals have souls?
Do animals have souls?
Well, brother, this is a point of contention and debate.
I would pursue that, but I don't think we have time.
I'm just asking you.
I'm answering your question. I'm answering you.
I can own a dog,
Yeah.
and I can also own a cow. I can also own a lion. Yeah? They have free will, though. No, not free will, but they eat when they want to, they sleep when they want to, they come to you when they want to. So why do they not have souls? It doesn't go against your religion, so why are you debating?
But look, wait.
From when people start looking at animals differently, and eating meat, the basis of that, life will change.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Yeah?
Brother, can I just you ask me a question?
Been like this since the beginning of time. Human beings, we have.
Yeah, but look at the way that we're going now.
Yeah, it's completely different now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But what you're doing is you're taking. Let me just one thing.
Please.
Is it when a lion eats a deer? Is it wrong?
I don't think it is. It's not wrong.
So what is wrong? So as a principle, what is wrong with a human eats a rabbit?
Okay, how about this? Okay,
No. Answer my question.
I know what you're saying.
If a lion eats a deer, it's not wrong morally. Why is it wrong when a human eats a rabbit?
Because I was making a point about harm to animals, wasn't I?
So
That was
is the
the
deer
original
not being
point.
harmed by the
And he
lion?
claims that the Quran is all for animal, against animal paintership. I'm saying it always is. If you're going to kill it and eat it, always is harm. Now, that's where we differ.
Taking away a
I'm
life.
not going to get back into that. I'm not going to get back into
No,
that.
but brother, your point was initially. Let's be fair. No, hold on a second. Your initial point was that Islam doesn't cover animal rights. And what
you clarified that for me.
Yeah.
So
what I explained to you is that, brother, of course it does. Now, inherently, do I think if I had to get a goat? Now I have had a chance to slaughter. I've slaughtered cows. I've slaughtered goats. For me, it was quite an emotional thing. I didn't like doing it because I still felt that I was killing something.
You were.
But that is our humanity and our love for the animal.
You can make large claims about what humanity is. People have been doing that for
my point to you,
You don't have to do it.
my point to you.
You can live a very healthy life without meat and be certain that you haven't caused any harm to any animal. That is far more moral, don't you think?
In the Garden of Eden, do you eat meat? Do people eat meat?
No, I guess they do.
Do you eat plants?
Yeah.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
It's not the same, is it? Come on, man. Everyone knows
Are you
it's not the
saying the
same.
plants do not feel?
Do you go around living your lived everyday life believing that plants are the same as animals? Because that's a bit of a weird thing to do.
That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying that. So the thing is, you make an arbitrary difference between living things.
Yes,
Taking a life.
100%. There's a clear difference between a potato and a horse. Very big difference.
But you make a difference.
You're making a similarity. That's worse than making a difference. Yeah, it clearly is. A horse is not the same as a potato. Come on. I'm not going to get into that debate right now. That's
But you're not even
useless.
allowed me to talk.
You're not even allowing me to talk, Darren. Come on, be
You're saying
fair.
that animals have souls. So you were making similarities. You're saying,
I wouldn't depend on that.
Did animals eat animals? Yes or no? Please stop.
One question. Let me refer to that first.
Sorry to
Right.
when a lion eats a deer, you say it's not wrong. But you somehow make the claim that when a human eats another animal, it's wrong. The question you guys were talking about was the method in which you do this.
Yeah.
He's not saying there's no pain. He's not saying that he doesn't cause any pain.
I said least
he was
pain.
saying that you find the best method.
I don't know. When you were reading out that study, it sounded like if you do it 1 millimeter
No.
away, then the animal feels no pain because the link gets.
Least harm least painful method. If you look at the scientific
just
data,
blurry lines,
if you look at the scientific data, it's,
Come on, man. Come on. You have to admit, that's
That
really
being just
harm
ceased
you.
to exist.
let him run finish.
You would definitely cause harm there.
The idea.
Let him run finish, and I'll refer to
The
that.
idea that you can eat an animal without killing it and without causing pain is nonsense.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's
thank
not-
you.
We don't believe that we don't cause any pain.
Sure.
We believe that there is pain.
Yeah, but your
point
method is the
We
better.
try to minimise that to the best. So in Islam, there's no blood sport
Why minimize? Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty. Why minimize pain for the animal?
because of compassion.
For
The animal.
an animal. Do you have the same compassion for a camera? Oh, don't.
For what?
Camera. I don't know. Oh, don't hold it too tight. You might break it.
I
You
don't know
don't
where
feel.
you're going with this.
Well, I'm making a very broad example
Is that
between.
what you're talking about?
Okay, why do you
Is
feel?
a camera the same as an animal?
That's my point. Why do you feel compassion for an animal?
Why do you feel compassion for it?
I'm asking.
It's a living thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a living thing. I agree. I agree.
Like a tree, like a
And
plant.
so you feel compassion because it's living, and you want to cause it as little harm as you can, right? Why do it in the first place? Why cause it harm in the first place? If you feel compassion, why I'm so sorry, but I have to slit your throat now. No, just don't eat meat.
That's an emotional argument without any point.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Is that an emotional point? I'm going by what you're saying. You feel compassion for a living thing. Why do you go against this compassionate drive that you have towards it?
Or let him run answer that now.
To ease the pain. You don't have to.
Let him run answer that.
That's not
Let him run. Okay, let him run answer
Mass
that.
production of meat today.
Let him run answer that.
I completely agree with you about the mass production of meat today. It's not good.
Of course.
In the sense of what I'm saying with animal having souls.
But we're not even. If we're talking about compassion for living things,
If you stab
you
them,
shouldn't
then
eat
they'll
any
go out.
animals at all.
They will bark, they will
If
meow,
someone
or they will
believes
go out.
that you can't have compassion if we don't believe something has a soul. Is that what you believe? You can only give compassion to something you think has a soul. Is that what you believe?
They are beings.
No, you're not answering my question. Are you saying that you can only have compassion to something that has a soul? So the
You
soul
can be
is,
compassionate to plants and
so
nature.
the soul is irrelevant in the discussion.
It's not.
Okay, so what's the relevance of the soul? In our discussion.
See, that's why I don't get into the soul thing because it will go on
It's a
forever.
pointless thing.
Answer Darren's question.
Okay, so
Yeah, tell me why it was an emotional
I'll
response.
tell you why it's an emotional thing. So you're saying that because
I'm going by what you're saying.
No, I'm talking.
Yes?
You're saying that because something is, you have compassion for something, like an animal, that somehow then you can't consume it. You can't kill it and eat it. Well, that's not the case at all. Eating an animal is natural for human beings.
Sure. Why do you feel compassion for it then?
I'm telling you.
And why do you not want to hurt it?
This is the emotion.
That's the
coming.
nitty gritty.
You're playing the violin, yeah? So let me actually give you a response to your question, yeah? So eating animals for human beings is a natural thing, okay?
I heard that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now,
Relate that back to the compassion.
I'm going to do that to you now. And human beings have domesticated animals for thousands of years, raised them, farmed them, and we kill them.
That doesn't justify the morality behind it. That's what you're trying to do.
Okay.
Be aware.
What is immoral
People
about
were killing each other for thousands of years as well. Come on.
So now you've changed the question.
No, I'm making a point.
So do you want to deal with the morality or do you want to really deal with the compassion?
Okay, sure. Deal with the morality, but you
let's
can't
not-
justify the morality by telling me it's been happening forever.
No.
It's a weak argument.
Is it immoral for a lion to eat a deer?
I don't think so.
No, why not?
Because that's the only way that they get food.
Why not? No, that's not the only way that they
Well,
get it. Why not? They can be carrion eaters, so they wait for it to die and then they can eat it.
Yeah, but they're not.
Because a lion doesn't feel compassionate for a deer.
They're not
I
the
don't
same
think
level
so.
of
It tears the shit up. Lions instinctively hunt deer.
You're making assumptions.
Yeah, sure. We don't really know what animals feel.
So what you can
No
say,
one does, by the way. Okay.
So what you can say at best is you have no reason to say that it's immoral for a lion to eat a deer.
No, I don't think so.
So why is it immoral for a human being to eat a deer? What's your basis for this?
Why do I think it's immoral
Why is it immoral
for
for
humans
human
to kill animals?
No.
To eat, or they have to kill them to eat
wanton
them.
killing. We're talking about specifically for a purpose. So just to clarify, in Islam, there's no blood sports. We can't hunt for fun. You can only kill for food. And there are specific prescribed ways of doing it, as brother was saying, to minimize harm to the animal. Not
I heard
no
all
harm,
that. I heard all that.
minimize harm.
I heard all
So
that.
why is it immoral for a human being to eat a rabbit, for example?
Well, I don't really know because I eat meat and I don't feel. But I'm going by what you lot said. Remember that. I'm just trying to go by what you're telling me the Quran tells you. Yeah, and
I think
So
you misunderstood it.
no, but the compassionate thing was what we really were supposed to focus on. That's
No,
the
you did
nitty-gritty.
morality. I asked you specifically what question you want me to deal with when you said
Oh,
morality.
sorry, my bad. In that case, I'm wrong. I wanted you to deal with the compassion.
Okay, let's go with the compassion.
Yeah, okay. So
I'm going to tell you.
let me just readdress it. You want to cause less harm to animals because you wouldn't like to cause pain to something you feel compassionate for. Then why do it?
Why do what?
Why do it? Why do
minimize
it?
the harm?
No, why kill it? Why?
When it's going to eat it.
You don't have to though.
Why? Yes, you do.
You don't have to.
You do.
So you believe that you shouldn't lead a life where you don't eat animals.
It's unhealthy.
So that's what you believe. You believe that
No,
you
no,
should
no.
live life and eat animals.
I believe, because I think I have good reasons to believe, that it's unnatural not to eat animals.
Yeah.
Unnatural. Unhealthy not to eat animals.
Yes.
Those two things are
Okay. Well, that's your opinion. Then, isn't it? That's completely your opinion.
Because
Correct?
No, but it's based upon something.
Let me just frame this in a different way. You might not like the way I'm about to frame this, but what you're essentially saying is that you believe that you must cause pain to these animals that you feel compassionate for because it's natural and you have to.
Well, you're making a very emotional argument.
Exactly. This is
Darren.
I'm asking.
No, but Darren, let's be objective.
You don't want to confirm that because you don't like the way I'm framing it.
No,
But that's what it is.
No, but Darren,
You don't have to eat meat, brother. You don't have to eat meat.
Darren, the
that's
problem
really
is,
completely
no, but Darren,
different. You really believe
the problem
you do.
is,
No, hold on.
you're making a very
Hold on, let me
emotional
just finish this
argument.
and I'll let you go. Let me just finish. You're dogmatically clinging to your diet. You don't have to eat meat. You really, really believe you have to. But let me just clarify, that's a subjective conclusion about your diet.
Imran, why do you think we have to eat meat then? What's the
objectively, human beings are omnivores. Do you disagree with this?
No, I agree. Yeah. But,
Right.
yeah.
So we have. I'm explaining to you. I'll explain. Let me explain. So we have teeth that are designed to eat animals.
I'm aware.
We have enzymes in our body that are designed to digest, particularly protein.
Yeah. We've evolved because we've eaten meat. And that's how we. I don't know how you feel about evolution. I ain't going to get into that.
That's another discussion and we'll have it another time.
No, that's too long.
Okay, we have intolerances to certain. We can't digest cellulose, for example. We have no way of digesting that. So
That's why we don't eat.
Intolerances to plant material, many plant materials. We're able to extract certain portions of it only.
Sure.
Particularly, so that there are many deficiencies that strict vegans develop that they have to supplement in other ways. One particular vitamin is vitamin B12. They often get vitamin B12 deficiency. It leads to a type of anemia that needs to be
That don't prove
supplemented.
nothing about your requirements for meat.
No, I'm telling you.
You're telling me about what vegans fuck up on.
No. I'm telling you why human beings need to eat meat. Because it causes health problems in them if they don't. Do you accept that?
No, not at all. You're crazy, bro. You're crazy.
Do you know that Imran is a doctor?
No, okay.
It does matter. Of course it matters.
I really don't agree with
matters.
that. I really don't agree with that. Because you could find, look, man,
When it enters
I don't even mean,
it causes your
you
body
lot
to be
are
in an acidic
jokers.
state.
You
That's
think
what
I
cancer
can't
is.
find a
That's
wealth
what
of
cancer is
evidence
for.
that shows that
Doctor
a
said
plant-based diet does wonders?
If you start eating vegetables,
I'm talking about deficiencies.
alkaline, balances
Sure.
the pH
You think you ain't got deficiencies in a meat-based diet?
You're not hearing what I'm saying. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Your
think it does.
argument's thin.
I think it
Have a
does.
discussion.
I think it does, bro.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
You're requiring, no.
I'm not requiring you anything.
You're telling me I'm not doing something right. You're requiring me to go against.
I can't even hear you.
How much times I got to say it?
68
Then why am I requiring you to do anything? We're having a discussion.
I'm trying to show you how you're wrong. I know that I shouldn't eat meat. You have a dogmatic belief that you should.
No, I have a...
No, you do. It is dogmatic. It is dogmatic.
That's what you're imposing on me.
It is dogmatic. You've already said you will happily...
Darren, are you aware?
No, wait.
Darren.
Don't cut me off. I'm about to say something deep.
Please do.
You are compelled to kill animals that you feel compassionate for because you have a natural need for meat. Come on. You sound like the most dogmatic guy. You're telling me that's not
Let's have a
dogma.
discussion. Let's have a discussion.
No, the more important point, Imran.
Can I say something?
Darren,
How about that,
Meat or we eat plants. These are two options, right?
No way, bro. Do you know how much other things you could eat on
I'm
this
just asking you a
earth?
question. These are two options.
No.
These two options.
No.
what are the options?
Sorry. Nuts,
They're plants.
grains,
That's plant.
everything.
That's plant
That's what I'm
life.
saying. It's not just meat and plants. Didn't he just ask me if
Yeah,
there's
but
only meat?
nuts are part of the plants, though, aren't
That's
they?
two categorizations.
Grains,
They're all to do with vegetation, plants. They all come from vegetation.
eggs. Eggs.
Eggs are meat.
Well, eggs are from an animal, aren't
Eggs are
they?
a byproduct of meat. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
Cheese,
an animal, aren't they?
milk, Milk's not meat.
You're happy to eat the
milk
baby.
Meat what?
You're happy to eat the babies.
You just said everything falls within these two. It's milk
That's
meat.
why Hindus prefer
Darren,
not
let's have a sensible discussion.
You're being bizarre.
No,
And they could also give meat.
Brother, look,
This guy's saying milk is meat.
Darren, let's have a sensible discussion here.
Go on, what were you going to say?
No, Darren.
There's two categorizations. There is the plants side, and there is the what would you say, animals
Meat,
kind of side.
Protein, meat
diet.
proteins.
Those are the two main categories.
Loads of stuff that you can get protein from, but continue, yeah.
These are two, and both of them are living. So I don't see what they're.
You got no. That's my point. No one
Plants are
walks.
living, trees
No
are
one
living.
walks
But
around.
they don't have souls though, bro.
Okay, Darren, can I just...
No, but
Darren.
you're a joker. You know that. You walk around. Do you look at a
I made a
pigeon?
statement and now you want to shoot
Because it is a joke. You want, like I said earlier, the difference is. I'll explain.
just respond. You don't have to call me a joker.
I mean, no, it's not.
I think it's a joke.
Do you know plants feel pain?
No, I was.
Do you know plants feel
You
pain?
said earlier.
There's no need to be like talking like that.
No, Darren, do you know plants feel pain?
Let me just say.
Plants feel pain.
Because earlier this guy made the point that the similarities between animals and plants
They are
are
product
more
of Mother
important than the
Nature, bro.
differences.
So that's why I said they don't have souls,
No
bro.
one walks around looking at a horse the same as a potato.
It's life.
You are saying they're the same.
No, we're not saying
That's
that.
a joke.
No, we're not saying that.
He did.
No, you're saying that, Darren.
Clarify.
No, you're saying
They're
that,
both living
Darren.
things.
What I said to
No,
you
you're
was,
saying
Both
that.
living
First and
things.
foremost, yeah, if I say something, just respond to what I say. There's no need to say to me I'm a joker or this or that. Just respond to what I said, innit? Because when you start attacking people's character, it's not really worth having the conversation. You know what I mean? I'm just coming to the conversation and I just said something, and you're already attacking me rather than what I
See,
said.
Darren, look, let me explain one thing to you. Darren, give me 1 or 2 minutes, please.
Conversation while we're attacking each other.
That's fair enough. Brother, Darren, let me just,
I don't think you're
Darren,
ready to do this.
Darren, let me just have a, let me just explain to you the Islamic thing, yeah? Now, Imran raised certain issues about vitamin deficiencies and things from not having meat, yes? You see, we're very privileged in the Western world. So, if you don't eat meat and you do have health complications, those can be addressed very easily. Because you can go to the doctor, you can get a blood test, they can give you vitamins, they can give you supplements, you can go to the lovely health food stores, spend a lot of money in getting these very expensive supplements and alternatives. You understand my point?
Sure.
Islam deals with the practicality of humanity as a whole. Most of humanity don't have the choice of getting blood tests and going and getting supplements and these sort of things. You understand? So what Islam does is it minimizes the suffering and it minimizes the harm. But it does not make something forbidden, because by making it forbidden, out of the 7 billion population of this planet, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 might be in utter poverty. And them not having meat forever may actually cause them many health problems. Do you understand my problem? Right. Okay. So hold on, brother. So that's one practical solution. The other thing is that how do you consume that meat? How do you rear that meat? Was the initial conversation that we had, the point that you raised. Does Islam address that? And I explained to you that indeed Islam does. That Muslims are recommended that if you wish to become close to Allah, then don't just eat that which is halal, but eat that which is tayyib. Means that you know that it's been reared properly, kept properly, slaughtered properly. One last point. Finally, the commercial way of producing meat, we all agree, is damaging and harmful and bad. I would accept that, it's cruel. But I remember a saying of the Prophet of Umar Khattab, the Khalif Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, when a man was going to the market and he said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to buy meat." And he said, "You had meat yesterday. Do you not know the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that do not consume too much meat because there is disease in there?" In other words, overconsumption of meat. You understand? And also the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said,
meat's got disease in it.
and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not consume too much meat because it will make your hearts harden. It will harden your hearts.
Good. Now, I'd rather have a B12 deficiency than have a
but
hardened
listen.
heart. You know what I'm saying?
So to finish off, to summarize, Darren, right? So what Islam does is it comes with a very practical solution of how to produce the meat, how to slaughter the meat, and then even how to consume it.
Sure. Now,
you understand?
Okay, let me just summarize.
That's a very practical solution.
We've already agreed to disagree that I believe that killing an animal, regardless of how you do it, is harmful. I believe that personally. We'll just have to disagree on that. And then I think this. No. Because you see, look, Dan, the issue here is when you say there has to be some pain to the animal. Of course there has to be. And I believe
so. For example, can
we just
no. But you see, what we believe, see, Darren, this is what it comes down to.
Just continue.
Yeah, no, but if I can finish that point that you're saying about harm, yeah.
We just disagree.
We believe. But see, Darren, your reasoning is based upon, in effect, what you see, the here and the now.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I accept that. That's your view. You're entitled to that.
Sure.
Our view as a Muslim is that Allah is Al-Haq.
Sure.
In other words, Allah compensates every living thing for whatever pain or suffering, whatever pain or suffering that thing may go through, whether human, whether animal, whether whatever. So Allah balances all the books. In other words, what the animal may suffer, the goat may suffer in terms of being consumed.
Okay, well, I don't believe that. I just believe.
I understand what you're saying.
That's where we differ.
I know. I understand what you're saying. But inherently, you cannot argue that morally it is wrong.
No, of course I can.
It's your view. No.
Everyone argues morals from their own view.
Not as an absolute. You can say, for me, from my understanding, from my reasoning, I think this.
We're both doing that.
And I can say to you, no, of course.
Okay.
And I can say to you that you're fully entitled to have that view.
We're both doing that.
Yeah,
I'm aware. And the second thing we have to just disagree with is that a meat-based diet is not a requirement and it's not healthy. That's where but bro, come on, man. I think this is what I'm saying.
Darren, he's a doctor.
Of course not.
Darren, he's a medical doctor.
It doesn't mean. Look.
So if you want to ask him
don't try silence me with this credentials.
No. But why don't you ask him what he means by that? What is the scientific basis of him arguing what he's arguing?
I wasn't born yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Plants and everything are full of health benefits, and meat, for the amount that we eat, it doesn't give us anything real back. And if one of the things that you cite is B12 deficiency, man, come on, man. Like that's so minor compared to all the other things that people don't receive because they have meat in their diet. Trust me, you'll be way healthier.
Darren, shouldn't we go where the evidence takes us? So shouldn't you ask a doctor? Why do you say that we do need to have this?
I'm aware that there might be a B12 deficiency.
So why don't you ask him?
Well, my point is that a plant-based diet will be healthier in all the other ways.
Ask him. Don't assume that. Don't assume it. Ask him.
Are you disagreeing though? That's sense.
I disagree.
I'm saying that I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. I would rather ask a doctor.
What we're saying is not exclusively meat or exclusively vegan.
I'm aware. I believe that you gain a lot from removing meat from your diet. I personally believe that.
I think if you minimize meat,
I haven't had a chance to explain. You tell me to listen to it. I'll happily explain. Tell me what the benefits are of eating chicken skin, or the large, nice bit of fat, tender fat on the outside of a steak. What benefits you get from that? Because that's what is in our diet. Deep fried skin most of the time. How much shit do we eat from an animal's carcass?
Let me explain to you now, right?
Go on.
So what you've done, this is where the violin comes out again.
How?
You've taken the most extreme example
of
the gristly fat on the end of a fried
People eat sausages every day.
As an example of meat eating.
A lot of people eat that.
How do you know how about...
You go on, hold on, look, no, don't give me that stuff. You walk down any high street, with £2, I could get... No, we are...
chips, man, come on. Be reasonable.
My point is that how many people eat chicken and chips?
Well, don't, Darren.
I agree, yes, I agree, but let's keep it real, man. If I'm being idealizing by choosing only the worst parts, then you would rather me only think about chicken breasts and beautiful cuts of meat.
Darren, can we please have a sensible discussion? Please, come on. Let's be sensible and honest.
I feel like-
no, but Darren, listen. Look, I'm not criticizing. Listen,
insulting,
it is.
you know that.
Well, I don't mean to be.
What's wrong with what I'm
Darren, I don't mean to be. But listen.
No, I don't agree with this,
I don't mean to
brother.
be.
This beard, not mustache.
I don't mean to be. Right? I don't mean to be. If I am, I apologise. Right? But Darren, if I have a problem with a particular, let's say, study, right? I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to go to a doctor or I'm going to go to a scientist and I'm going to say, look, eating meat, I don't think there's anything wrong with becoming a complete vegan. And if the doctor said to me, or the scientist said to me, well, actually, these are the reasons why perhaps a small amount of consumption of meat would be a good thing, I have to be honest and I have to agree with where the evidence goes, right?
I never said I didn't.
So why don't you ask him?
I already said, I'm aware that there might be a B12 deficiency.
No, but it's not just B12. Ask him.
But
But Darren, ask him what his opinion is.